Hello everyone, and welcome back to a tribute event to David Stubbs, a great veteran of the past in this classic game, Star Wars Episode 1 racer, in which we honour his deteriorated health in the form of a competition in the game he's always loved. So, I am Mike. I'm known here as Mikeyburger, a good friend of David's, and like him, I belong to the old school community in this game before the modern Discord group, which we see today with many more players. So back in the day, it was very basic, really, the way we raced, but even so, we still appreciated the raw competition element. I think that hasn't really changed in this game. David was very much a pioneer of the techniques that he used for today's racing, and was one of the people who contributed to understanding this game kind of in depth, really, and how to be fast, essentially. So far we've seen 7 of our 13 contestants do their best efforts in the amateur circuit tracks, which were tracks David specializes in this game, with Ace currently leading the event. Last match we saw was Malastare and Paige, where Paige was able to gain a victory of 5-2 in that match. I'm joined once again today by Gamedraco, who's another veteran of this game and with whom I've had a long-time friendly rivalry back in the day, who's very kindly supported me in this commentary for this match, since I know he's had a very busy schedule recently, so a big thank you to him for his continued support there. And in today's match we're going to see kingbeandip and That's No Good. We're going to do their runs of the amateur circuit, see if any of them can do better than what we've seen so far. Both players competed in last year's annual tournament, I believe, which has just started, which is coinciding with this event. I know kingbeandip finished with a 3rd place last year, and I believe both players are also signed for this year's event too.
Yeah, both of them have signed up for this year's event too. So we're gonna doing this thing. kingbeandip, he's reckless, but he's a real crowd pleaser. He's on the U.S. natives on the starting grid. And not only was kingbeandip 3rd last year, he was the champion of the first tourney in 2019. So he's a really solid player of this game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very interested to see how he gets on today, actually. So
I expect him to go for broke. He's just known for that.
Okay, not sure what's going on there, but
That's the goods off. And here's King Beans off.
Okay, let's see how they get on then. Pretty decent from both so far. A little bit of off-roading from That's No Good. And we've got our helpful assistant with us to deal with the syncing of the videos. So let's see where they are in relation to each other. Ooh,
32 for kingbeandip.
Heavy damage.
30.
That's No Good.
Yeah, 34 from him.
Yeah, both pretty reasonable pace.
Yeah. And kingbeandip's using an older route that was used previously, and here it goes.
Ooh, That's No Good. Seemed to didn't crash, but lost a lot of speed, I think.
32. Yeah. 37. We're not so good.
Yeah, almost under heats, but not quite, so we won't lose any time with that.
Yeah. Here's see what kingbeandip does. He's gonna. On a 136.50.
Yeah, pretty decent time, but a little bit short at the end, but certainly not bad at all.
kingbeandip 136.502, and That's No Good with a 149.653. Now we're going to Mon Gazza Speedway, which is Davy's best track.
Yeah, this is. I don't think anybody's going to beat David's time here. I think that would be unbelievable, really. But
Yeah, I really doubt it. And I know only Ace and New Runner and Villainous have ever beat his time. And since both Ace and Dumray crashed in their run of this track, I don't think we'll see it get broken.
no, I think it's very unlikely, really. I think we might see a 39 possibly, but it's not an easy time to do in this setting.
No.
I mean, we've seen that in qualifying for the annual. We've seen 39.
Yeah, that was Dumray. And King Beandip might be the only one able to hit 39.
King Beandip just having a few warm-ups here.
Yeah. It looks like that's so good as going with Bullseye.
Yeah, I think really to get the most out of Ben, you have to be very, very aggressive really with it. So I mean, Bullseye is not a bad pick here. Actually, I think it's a very reasonable pod choice.
He's really reliable, but I would say if you want reliability and speed, you're better off with Mars Guo.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Mars has got pretty good turning as well, and traction, so that really helps.
But most importantly is his boost duration. He can boost a very long time and hold turns well because of that handling.
Yeah, Mars is, I would probably say, perhaps the third best choice on this track in terms of speed.
I think he's fourth after Mahonic, Elon Mack, and Ben.
Yeah, well, Bowles is also quicker, I think, than...
I think Bowles is also quicker, but he's way more difficult to use compared to Ben, Mars, Mahonic, and Elon.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. But yeah, I think we could see beating the best time. The best time for the moment is Nacho with a 41.3. I think we might possibly see that beaten in this race. We'll have to see.
That's the goods off with Bullseye.
Yeah, I don't think a 41. I don't think is possible with Bullseye.
No.
We'll see how King Beandip gets on.
14.
Nice first lap, 14.2. It's very decent. Very.
And here we go. 12.78. That was a close call by King Dip. I thought he was going to hit that pillar at first. And 40.48.
There we go. Nice time.
I think that's a new record for the tourney there.
Yes. Yeah, we've got a lot of guys on 46, 45, 47, that kind of thing. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Yeah, Nacho's now down to second place on the Mon Gazza Speedway leaderboard at the moment for this event. Yeah, this is obviously a little bit more of a technical track this time, and a lot longer than Mon Gazza Speedway, so you're going to have to manage your boost timings rather more effectively. And has a lot of...
And this is one track. This track is also where traction is most key because of all the ice.
I know that in the last match we saw with Malastare, he decided to use Beedo on this track, so I suspect he isn't taking this event too seriously. So there's a couple of options here. There's the tent option, and there's the route we've just seen Kingbean use. I don't think anybody's used the tent so far, unless I think maybe one person did. I forget who it was.
I think Knock did. I know Knock used the tent.
So let's see how they get on here. This track's always fun, and I don't think we've seen... have we seen a deathless run here yet?
I don't think we've seen a deathless run yet.
This is one of the few Ando Prime tracks on this ice planet, which is not Hoth.
And the funny thing is, Ando Prime is the only world to have a track on each circuit of this game.
Yeah, that's true. We got one on Beedo's, and where on earth?
You have Howler on Semi-Pro, Andobi Mount Run on Galactic, and Ando Prime Centrum on the Invitational.
Yeah. I've been playing this game over 20 years, and I still don't know which tracks are which, so yeah.
This one was really easy for me to remember because there was one on each track, on each circuit.
Yeah. Very nice start from kingbeandip there, by the way, we should say, holding the boost through the tunnel. That's not easy. A bit bumpy there, but that's good.
Yeah.
I feel like That's No Good's improved since last year as well. That's good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, kingbeandip pretty hard. Oh, rough death there from That's No Good, but
Went out of bounds. I don't see that death often.
oh, another death.
Yeah, he was following the edge of the track, and then the track just ran out of space and killed him, and there goes kingbeandip.
Oh, that's another classic death there at the bridge. Especially if you low frame rates as well, you can get really high, so it can very easy to hit that.
Yeah. I think he was also pulling up, which didn't help either.
Yeah, it's a fine balance, really. And yeah, knock. I've done that quite a few times actually. So
I've done that a few times even without upgrades using Ben.
yeah, I can imagine bowls would be very easy to do that. You probably even jump over it, I think, with bowls.
Yeah, his lower traction means he falls slower.
Yeah, I remember when I used to play this when I was a lot younger, I used to try and jump over the first bridge at the start of the track just because it was fun. Like, you drive through like the trophy and you can jump the bridge.
Yeah, it's not practical though for speed running.
That's no good going the... No, yeah, agreed. That's no good going the more traditional route, which is a longer path. Kingbeandip coming in.
44.86 with a death.
Pretty good. Yeah, some tracks you see a much tighter difference between the times. This is not one of those tracks really. You often get very, very big differences. It's quite a dangerous track, really, I would say.
Yeah, the differences are smallest on Boonta Train and Mon Gazza Speedway. .620.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of deaths at Beedo's during this event.
Yeah, it's a really hard track to not take a death in going fast on.
But, yeah, on to another relatively straightforward track in that of Aquilaris Classic. I would say in some ways it's actually the simplest track. It doesn't have too many obstacles which can cause you problems. It has a few ramps and a few moving doors, but that's just a case of knowing the patterns, really. Other than that, it's relatively straightforward track, so you actually have to play very precisely on a track like this because it's, you know, again, the differences between being very good and being not so good is very fine. So it's important really you try and, you know, make up every millisecond you can on such a track like this. Yeah, Ace and Domare was extremely close, actually. It's you couldn't really tell who was winning that until the end.
Yeah, it was like down to like hundredths of a second.
Yeah, I don't know how people feel about this event, but I think it's quite nice to just have a simple kind of setup as this, really. I think that was the idea with this, was just have something that wasn't too overly complicated in terms of tactics and things, which is actually is a pretty heavy part of the annual tournament this year.
Yeah, but also, with the exception of probably Vengeance and Beedo's Wild Ride, most of the tracks aren't really that technical apart from a handful of parts.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, rather with regards to the strategies, like, because obviously you've got ideas of like bands and forces and pod bands, track bands, this kind of thing. So there's a lot of things that players can do.
Yes, and you can now also do multiple forces simultaneously now for this year.
Yes, and that's exactly what I mean. So let's see how they're getting on. That's No Good likes to use the ramp.
Crashed into the valve gate, didn't time it well, didn't do his turning well. Really difficult to do.
Yeah, if you want to hold your boost through that section, you've got to be very accurate for sure. I think he took a death with a fair amount of well, the engine was still pretty hot, so that isn't such as bad as dying with cool engines, but he's taken another death there, unfortunately.
54.11 for kingbeandip.
Yeah, I find it interesting that he likes to use the right path for this track. I know that most players, I think, use the left one, so always accidentally caught the ramp there, so that's going to cost him a little bit of time.
Kingbeandip told me that he was starting to de-rust a little bit.
Yeah, that's no good, having a bit of a rough time on this track. See how King Bean's getting on though. I'm not sure if he's on good enough pace to beat the times already done, but he might be.
52.57.
Yeah, quite a late boost, rather an early boost there. I know that I like to do it a little bit later than that section. He makes the gate for the third lap. He's on good heat at this position. So this is looking like it should be a pretty good time.
238.13. $238.133. Probably would have broken the 238 mark if he hadn't hit the jump.
Well, that puts King Bean in third place on Aquilaris Classic, just after Ace.
Ace and Domre, which are off by about maybe 100th of a second.
Yeah, I think it was a 10th. Yeah, it was 1/10.
Yeah, it was a 10th. It was a 10th of a second, yeah. And now we're going on to Malastare 100, where it's a clone of Sonoma Raceway in Northern California and is determined mainly by a hairpin at the very end.
Yeah, Malastare tracks are very characteristic of kind of very tight turns, narrow sections, and that sort of thing. Really, generally, I mean, there's I think how many there are. I mean, there's this one. There's Doug Derby, and there's Sebulba's Legacy. I don't know if there's any more, but
those are the only three.
Yeah, they're usually quite technical tracks. There's no easy Malastare tracks, really. I would say probably Sebulba's Legacy is actually the easiest, perhaps, and that's on the Galactic circuit, so... I know that was a track that David was also quite fond of. It was one of the few skips he actually liked doing, and he had the best time actually with Ben with the skips on that track, I believe, for quite a while actually.
Fortunately, however, that skip on Sebulba's Legacy got demoted recently.
Yeah, that was partly due to me actually, but that's I think that was a very reasonable way of dealing with it, because it was difficult really to decipher with the track limits on that one. So I think that's probably a very reasonable way of dealing with that. Yeah, best time here so far is by Ace with a 1:46.1, very closely followed by Paige with a 46.2.
Here we go. And expect greasy handling here, because the optimal traction is the lowest frame rate with the lowest traction here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if both players know to change their
frame rate
for this. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure kingbeandip knows, but yeah, I think and I think you can even tell how. I think you can even tell how Not So Good is running at a higher frame rate than kingbeandip too. Really clear. Whoa! kingbeandip clipped the wall!
Ooh, that's unusual death.
I don't usually see deaths there either.
Yeah,
usually the deaths come at... Usually I see deaths come at the hairpin or the jump right before it.
Yeah, the thing is though, I think you're almost off your guard on other places because you're thinking, well, the hairpin's a dangerous bit, so I'll focus on that, and then you crash somewhere else.
Probably.
Yeah, that's no good. I think he's using a very high traction. He, well, basically crashed into the hairpin, so... Very lucky not to die, actually.
And it looks like he clipped at the same place kingbeandip did. 151 for kingbean. $151.315 for kingbeandip.
Yeah, quite a painful result for kingbean, actually. It's second to last place on this track.
Now we're going into the semifinal track, which is the hardest track of the amateur circuit, in Vengeance.
Yeah, I still think Beedo's is up there, actually. It's kind of difficult to say which is more difficult between those two, perhaps.
I personally find Vengeance much harder than Beedo's. First part of the tube is just flat out terrifying with all the giant rocks in it, and then a reactor core beam that if you hit it is certain death. And that just all slams you at the very start of the tube where you spin out of control easily. Back in the day, before both Mike and I started, the world record holder was Rudder Jansen. He had a 326 with Ben, and I remember breaking his time first, not with Ben, but Bullseye.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I mean, I think the funniest ones perhaps were like with the technical tracks where it's possible to save a lot of time, because we saw that with Grabvine Gateway. I know that we saw we managed to beat, I think, Wooter's times with bowls with no upgrades. So
you said, yeah, there were. Yeah, I know Ace, a runner who has left the community, and I forgot who else. But yeah, they beat his but yeah, they beat his Grabvine Gateway time with no upgrade bowls. And also his NW Mountain Run time was a farce because he took the long route.
Yeah, I think it comes a lot down to the characteristics of the pod, really, with the upgrades. But let's see how they get on.
I was actually the one who suggested adding beating Wooter's time for the Grabvine Gateway weekly challenge you did.
Oh, was that was with Art Bumpy Roots, I believe.
Yes, I suggested beat Wooter's time that he did with fully upgrade Bullseye as like a joke and a troll move. A few people did. Oh, that's a good hit. The reactor core beam.
Yeah, so the pods all have certain stats that don't change, and they also have stats that they can change. And it's those stats when you upgrade a pod, it's those that we're kind of referring to. So that those include the traction upgrade, the turning response upgrade, acceleration, top speed, brakes, cooling, and repair. And the cooling and top speed ones are particularly important.
They're tied to really how fast you can go, because cooling helps you boost longer by cooling down faster, while top speed determines your ultimate top speed.
Yeah, you can boost for more. You can spend more of the track with the boost on as opposed to off in cooling down. So it's going to increase your average speed. But some aspects like traction, you don't always want it to be the highest. It can actually be detrimental to turning and other factors. So it's a bit of a measured thing with certain upgrades.
Yeah, got a 101 from kingbeandip.
Yeah, good pace for a second lap. It's one of those tracks really where you sort of want like somewhere around about a 102 first and then 101 second and 1 minute third would be kind of sort of the ideal difference between the laps. It depends a little bit on the track. I know some tracks you actually want a faster first lap than you do second and third, so it just depends really. Yeah, I do feel that That's No Good maybe would have done better with Ben on this track.
kingbeandip's looking for a really fast time now. And a 306.02 for kingbeandip. And he almost lapped That's No Good.
Yeah, Bullseye particularly is, he definitely has his strengths. There are some tracks where he's just very excellent to do, to use, but the sensitivity issues is definitely one thing. I mean, you only have to just barely kiss the wall or an object and you can just blow up. So you have to be careful with him, definitely.
Yeah, he's really fragile, but repairs fast, and he sometimes can be too dirty, particularly fully upgraded if you don't know how to use him.
But yeah, on to our final track today with Spice Wine Run. And again, it's very much like Aquilaris Classic, really. It's a very long track, and pretty straightforward, really. Not too much to say about it, to be honest. It's yeah, pretty straightforward track. There is this this uphill section King Bean's just gone through, which is considerable for managing where you want to use your boost and where you want to use it for cooling down. It's usually optimal to cool down on that section. The reason being because you're traveling quicker on that section, so
and then it's optimal. And then it's optimal to floor the boost right coming off of that speed spike from it.
Yeah, you definitely want to take advantage of that. Yeah, we might see another 342 here. That would be interesting for sure. But yeah, the section we were just referring to, yeah, you don't want to boost on that section usually, because proportionally, when you're traveling over something that is increasing your speed, it makes better when you're traveling at a lower speed. So it's better not to boost there, basically.
And they're off for the final track.
Look like they're pretty much automatically synced as well. That's good. Slight route diversion here between the two players.
Amazed King Beandip survived that. Usually if you hit that boost, you crash. There it goes, taking on the spike.
Yeah, just a little boost there at the hill. I think he knew he was going to underheat slightly, so yeah, good awareness by King Beandip. Yeah, and that thing that's no good just crashed into, that can be annoying actually, that kind of moving tram thing.
Minecart? Crashed into the minecart?
Yeah, so and the same with the bulldozer actually, that you won't see until the final lap. They're two objects you really have to be aware with whatever pace you're on as to where they are, so that becomes important, especially on the final lap.
And King Beandip is right at a pace where that dozer will be in an intercepting position on the final lap.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering actually if he, because it's possible to wait for the loading screen menu. There's a little trick you can use where you can just delay it a little bit and just wait instead of cancelling the kind of intro screen that you see, and that allows those to move into different positions. So you've kind of got options there, but it looks like he hasn't done that because
nope, he crashed.
Oh, straight into the apex. Well, that won't be an issue anymore because of the crash. So. But still, I mean, there's a lot of players that have just one death on a track, so it's important he still does the best he can, pick up as many points as he can from this final track. Just see the bulldozer here on the left. Just briefly. So they're reaching over 800 speed units on the escalator.
Yeah. Yeah, and King Beandip timed it perfectly because he was above Ben's max boost top speed of 1050 that whole time.
Yeah, it's usually a good sign. And then the most tricky section of all for the boosting in this final section, because you have to try and keep a very tight line but boost at the same time, which is difficult. So it's a little bit short, so it's going to finish with a slightly cool.
345. Or just where I'm not so good.
Yeah, I should probably mention actually that the idea of this competition is rather to not just for the competitors that are on the screen, but for like all the competitors in the event. So we've got 13 players in the event, and they are all competing with each other. In this case, so we'll see how That's No Good gets on as well with the other players.
Not so good, coming in with a 450.885.
Hello there, kingbeandip.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm guessing it looks like both of you were derusting on that run.
Yeah, but had, weird deaths are the hallmark of derusting.
Well, you've taken the top spot on Mon Gazza Speedway, kingbeandip, just so that you know.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, Nacho, I think, was second with a 41. I just check my stats here. 41.4. Yeah, so you're a second ahead.
Place is a 41.
Yeah,
Wow.
41.4. So, yeah.
Did like everybody die on that track or something?
Ace and Dumray did.
I saw that. Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, and That's No Good. You've beaten Knock and Page on that track actually as well. So there was a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of times actually. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 times within 45 to 47 seconds on Mon Gazza at the moment.
I just need to learn how to use Ben on the Mon Gazza Speedway.
Yeah, you went with Bullseye, I believe, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
Unfortunately, we haven't seen a Death of the Speedos yet, so we're hoping to see that today. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't think anybody's, at least not that I remember, survived that track yet. So
That's a bit of a surprise. It's been really good to jump back into a tourney. It's, been many months since that last happened.
I know it was quite a while, but I figured it would be quite a good warm up for you both as well, because you are both doing the annual tournament this year, aren't you? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I paraphrased Odie Mandrell for you for kingbeandip, because they say with Odie, he's reckless but a real crowd pleaser. The Tatooine native Odie Mandrell is on the starting grid.
Nice.
That line just seemed to fit you, kingbeandip, perfectly.
Well, I'm not completely reckless. I mean, I still have to learn 10-ton Beedos.
I know, but you're known for going for broke more than any other player.
Yeah.
yeah, I think Ace is still leading the tournament at the moment, so
Not too surprising.
it's we've still got a few players left, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on.
Uh-huh. Who all is left, by the way?
I think Digital Unity is one of them.
There's Renegade, and Bowl Rempley and myself are the final 4 to play.
Okay. But yeah, thanks guys for commentating. It's been really fun, and thanks Mikey for putting on this tournament.
Thanks for joining. It's been it's great to see you guys here really. So I mean, I've appreciated the help from everybody. So obviously can't do it without competitors. So yeah, great, and thanks for doing such a good match.
Good luck, everyone. May the force be with you.